Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, where I'm always excited to introduce in the red the 7-time GSL champion. It's the man, the myth, the Maru. But up against an increasingly dangerous Zerg in the top right, formerly Ragnarok, now just SHIN. Best of 3 TVZ to see if Maru can start off on the road to his 8th GSL championship, better known as the Ocho. Or if his opponent can get his SHIN together and look a little more dangerous than he was the last time these two met. Maru, well, it wasn't pretty, and SHIN did not come out on top. So, if you want to see Maru absolutely slaughter him, or SHIN strike back, well, it'd be awesome if you could like and subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,000? Yes, one more than yesterday. We've been doing this for like a year. That's not, give or take, 1,259 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another series. I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Maru has been playing his own brand of Terran lately. Made it to the IM Katowice finals against Cyril and suffered the same result that essentially everyone, including myself, has in the grand finals against Cyril recently. But, still though, starting off with his 3 command center build, Terran players have been oh my god, bounces Brenda over to the side. Terran players have been eternally, it's not even really greedy. It's just kind of taking advantage of the fact that your buildings can fly, much unlike queens. But if you're actively scouting with the Reaper, if you're poking and prodding with the Hellions, it is unlikely they're going to be able to put together a roach all-in, or even things like Zerglings and Banelings just usually don't get the return on investment that maybe sometime. Oh, he's been watching Clem. Oh my god. But so is SHIN, maybe. God, Maru just runs in. So I think this is... We are watching. We got to talk about this. The metagame develop. This is essentially like Clem has started diving in with the Hellions. It wasn't too long ago. Maybe just yesterday we saw Clem continually do that against Raynor. And Terrans have taken to diving in with those Hellions more often than usual lately. The threat has been realized, but I do feel that Zergs have already adapted, as, you know, more accurately they do. And SHIN there was already building. Usually you hold up... He's building... Okay, well, he built the Zerglings, but now he's got the Amnesia Lords. Okay? So, he built the Zerglings to deal with the Hellions. He's like, I shut it down. But then he got supply blocked. And he was supply blocked for so long, he forgot he was supply blocked. And he built more Overlords. Which, you know, he might need them. But 82 out of 122. I guess the Viking was taken out some. But there were definitely 2... I see you, SHIN. Okay. I know what you're up to. What you're up to is getting supply blocked so hard you forget that you were supply blocked and need to build even more. But they'll eventually pay off. Not a big deal. Just fun to point out. You know what was even more fun to point out? That Maru has now finalized his franchising of McDonald's and will be going straight up full-on broadside mech here. There's a lot of adjectives we could continue with. But unfortunately... Yeah, come on in. Unfortunately, SHIN... We'll get a Zergling in immediately. Maru does have Cloak, tries to convince... he continues upgrading, tries to convince him. Indeed, he's going to go Hyperflight or something like that. Or maybe he was going Hyperflight and canceled it. Either way. There's 2 Banshees on the field. The Queens are unhappy about their presence. And will pretend like there's detection anywhere nearby. But SHIN will figure out that this is mech a lot earlier than usual. Or a lot earlier than I think Maru would have liked. 3 Cyclones are already on the way, and 1-1 in production. So So the Hellions roasting the creep here. The Zerglings looking for the surround. And that's a dangerous game. The Hellions just not intimidated by Zerglings here, clearly. Roasting through them. The Queens will come by and deal with most of the rest of the Hellions. A whole bunch more Lings on the way, but it looks like it's going to be Hellclone Battle Mech here instead. Get off my creep! But the Banshees are coming in, and Maru drew him out of position and ends up getting 5 kills with the Banshees at a very key timing. This is right when SHIN wants to be droning up. This is right when he wants to get 4 bases up and running. Enough economy to pretty much build whatever he wants off of that lair tech. But he has to keep replacing the drones, and he's doing it at the most important time here. This is when Maru is building up his factory. A scan spots the spire. The entire tech tree is growing out of the main. The Yggdrasil of Zerg here. He has an infestation. Wow. SHIN is desperately trying to evade Maru's... he's desperately trying to trick Maru here. There's a scan at the 3rd. Will he scan the natural? Because the moment the scan ended in the main, or even during it, he built an infestation pit and a Hydra den here. So both players not quite able to pull one over on their opponent, at least not quite yet. But SHIN is definitely trying to go. And he scans the natural. No, you can't hide. The Terrans have map hacks with extra steps. SHIN tried, but at the end of the day, Maru will now know exactly what's going on. He knows that SHIN is not committed to the Spire. He knows he wants very likely Hydras and Lurkers. And Hive Tech for Vipers. So now, on top of all these Cyclones out in front, with 1-1 already done, upgrade's a huge deal for especially the new-ish Cyclone. Because they do benefit from those upgrades. It used to be spell damage, which means it was going to do a lot of damage, unaffected by armor, but not upgraded. But now it's essentially an auto attack when they lock on. So that weapon upgrade, a big deal. And armor just general. And Queens, wow. The Queen's holding it together. SHIN feels like has spent most of this game kind of shadow boxing with Maru. There haven't been many losses. The Zergling's trying to slip through the back here. I don't think Maru quite noticed it. Not that that's necessarily going to be a meaningful move, but... And there's not a wall. This is actually quite a big run by here. Gonna force a big reaction out of Maru. At a key timing. There's a siege tank in the middle here. Not gonna get a second shot off on the Banelings. Blue Flame Hellions. Planetary Fortress will repel the Zerglings. But this was a very important... Oh my god. How many factories? He has 8 factories. The Ocho indeed. Octofact. He's building 3 tanks. He's actually building Hellbats, which is kind of crazy out of the factories. Rare you see that. SHIN is making his Spire great again. A dozen more Hydras in production. Was there ever a Lurker Den built? It's just straight up Hydras with Vipers on the way. The Vipers are going to be the key component of all of this. There are no ghosts. Blinding Cloud is a massive danger if those siege tanks are too stacked up. And Abduct is, of course, going to be very helpful as well. So Cyclone speed is actually finishing. He's still got enough to definitely justify its presence. But the siege tank push has begun, beginning to shell the gold base. +2 mech weapons is nearly complete, but the Vipers have full energy, and there's nothing... Well, there are no ghosts, is the summary. I don't believe there's interference matrix on the Raven, which technically could be used, but I guess shout out to Maru, building a Raven. Though a little bit easier to justify with mech than when you're trying to invest in medevacs. And now Maru's switching into ghosts. He's got 4 barracks on the way, but SHIN coming in, lightning clouds across the board, negating about half the siege tanks, but the rest are well spread at the back. Anti-armor missile used to repel the western flank there, and out to the north, the anti-armor missiles from the Raven will cause SHIN to back off. Did Maru? He did. Oh my god, those tanks hit so hard. Well, the Ravager Hydra definitely... oh, he got the Raven with Corrosive Bile. A bit of a mistake out of Maru. but still pressing forward. The production, 8 factory production, and plenty of economy behind. Maru has 90 SCVs, and he's still mining from his main, which means his income is massive right now. SHIN, about equal, but the Zergs are kind of expected. SHIN will hold on, brawling it out in the middle of the map. Siege tanks in range as SHIN attempts another base. More shelling at the front. Corrosive Biles knocks down 2, but Brendan, no! Adrenal glands even. The fateful upgrade that SHIN forgets so often. This time, clearly has improved. He got it before the end of the game. He's done about half the HP of his main hatchery, his hive, in damage. Maru's building 3 more command centers, taking the gold base himself. How many orbitals does he have? 5 back at home. And probably going to have several more before too much time goes on. But now... So far, Maru making it happen, but we'll see if SHIN has any Ghostbusters here. The Brood Lords on the field, complementing the Queens in this feudalistic society of Zerg. Are there enough broods? There's only 4 Cyclones, 4 Vikings. The Ghosts? Did he just abduct a Viking? Sir? Well, the Viking then kills the I don't know. I don't know about that. So, there's also a battle happening underneath, but there's no anti-air to kill the Vikings! What are you doing, SHIN? Oh my. Now the Broodlords are still working through it. There just wasn't enough anti-air in general, but the Queens come down. Vikings kiting back. We're off a creep now. Broodlords pretty fast, but Vikings slightly faster. Neither of them very quick compared to ground units, somewhat amusingly. And what a brawl in the middle of the map here. They're just going back and forth. He's using the Broodlords. Limited time only. The Vikings will eventually kill them. Forces the tanks to unsiege, but the back line is there. Siege tanks are a danger to both sides once the Broodlings start raining down. But SHIN is using Broodlords like an expendable unit here. He knows he's going to lose some to the Vikings, but he has enough to continue pushing forward and driving back the mech army. But even more siege tanks added on. Snipes underneath, knocks out the Broodlords. Maru has dealt with one of the threats, finally finishes off the Banshees. +3 mech plating is now completed. The Viking's gonna be taken out. Detection no longer required. Thor is here, but the Ravagers are obliterated by the tanks. And the Ghosts, they might not have medevacs, but they have energy. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Line up the snipes and knock out a bunch more of the Zerg. Maru knows where his biscuit is buttered. Oh my god, there's a Thor stuck in the main! All he has to do is lower the depot. Sir, papers, please. And that... Thor's at the front. And SHIN's army doesn't have a whole lot of time to be useful here. The Vipers straying far too close to the Thors and the Vikings. A Ragnarok of units indeed. And now this is a mech army that's nearly impossible to beat. He doesn't have the critical mass of Broodlords. He's making Ravagers. He's gonna try to chip away at it. Yeah, the best way to counter this mech army is to borrow it. If you can't beat him higher up, Neural Parasite is on the way. I think SHIN has the right of it here, but the Ghosts are already on the field. And Maru has been scanning like he's working a Costco checkout. So far, the Corrosive Biles spraying and praying across the field. But even the Thors are able to maneuver out of the way. Yanks and the Thors, get me closer! And the Thors will be taken out. SHIN doing whatever he can to try to whittle this down. The incomes are nearly even. Maru's taking another base at the bottom right. He has like 12 command centers. I'm sorry, I underestimated him. Actually, I think that might be the exact number. 6, 9, 9. No, going on 13. Ravagers with the Ghosts as well. Medevacs being added in. They help with the Hellbats. Give them some heals. The Vikings have been knocking down anything getting close. The tanks are encroaching. SHIN knows time is running thin. Another tank taken out. Thors chipped by the Corrosive Bile. But the Queen's coming out trying to hold it together. But the damage from both sides. What a brawl of a game right now. And SHIN may actually have enough. The siege tank count, the Ravagers don't take that much damage to the tanks, and they're well spread out. It's Ghost versus Ravagers here, but he's able to pick up the Ghost and get away. But SHIN is able to clear the field and reset the siege tank count. I truly didn't expect he would be able to stop that push. But what an execution. He's willing to spend everything to do so, and he needs to. He desperately needed to clear the field. He desperately needed to deal with that army composition, because Maru, it's only going to get stronger. The only problem is, at the end of the day, how do you deal with the next one? There are 6 infestors on the way, which SHIN will now realize as they finish he didn't get Burrow. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, the infestors pop out. SHIN takes one look, tries to press the burrow key, and guess what? No dice. The infestors are revealed, a couple taken out, taking apple maps on their way across. And now the Roach Ravager is forced to engage without infestor support. More infestors coming in, looking for a fungal, gets it onto the tanks, but that spread. Maru. GG. SHIN holds. But not forever. Maru pushes through in a beautifully executed Mech Terran army. Honestly, some nerd chills there, I will say. A strong way to start things off, but that's why we play best of 3s. I like Maru breaking out the mech. That map not that surprisingly, but definitely solid for siege tanks. That center line with the choke point at the watchtower where all the units get jammed in. Well, siege tanks take full advantage. And the fact that the entire right side of the map is essentially firing over rocks and mineral lines. Oh. Terran is only 1 letter away from terrain. And that joke didn't really come together, but game 2 did. As did 2 barracks here on Solar Is. 2 Reapers. How many more? We'll follow it up. It looks like just a 3-per opener, but looks can be deceiving. It was needlessly dramatic. It looks like it's going to be 3-pers. He doesn't have a 3rd Rex. That would be the defining character. Like, it might be 4 Reapers, but the idea is there. Put the pressure on, kind of keep him honest. I want to go back to Maru running by with the Hellions, and how I'm crediting Clem entirely with that. It's that phase. This happens in TVZ. The meta is like seasons. I guess quite literally. Where some seasons... Yeah, Roach all-ins. It's not even that map dependent. I don't think maps affect it that much. It's literally just mind games. But where occasionally more and more Terrans will start running by with the Hellions. Because if they don't build Lings, you might kill a near game-ending or at least crippling amount of drone. If they do build Lings, you're not too far behind, as we can see there. SHIN shut it down, but Maru, well, not really much worse for wear. Same goes with Roach all-ins and these Reapers, where I think the Reapers have, like, oh my. So fancy. Oh, come on. Oh my. 4? Huh. Sometimes, like, with these early Terran pressures, all I can do, and I try to pride myself on my articulate commentary, but I just look and I say, well, that seems pretty mean. If the Zerg is slightly out of position, and the Terran hits everything just right, then suddenly 1 or 2 drones turns into 4, and the Reapers get out anyways. And that feels bad, but at the end of the day, SHIN does have a quick 3rd hatch. He's got queens. It's not a devastating blow, but certainly an emotionally devastating one. Maru's going mech again. It wasn't a fluke. It's a franchise. It's the plan all along. He's gonna mech it happen or die try. And last game, it looks so solid. The big weakness of mech is in the overhead cost. Getting factories which cost 100 gas apiece, armories cost 100 gas apiece. You have to invest that Vespine gas before you even get a unit or any sort of power on, like, extra power on that unit. So that is usually... Is that a fake... Wait, he does have 2 barracks. Is he gonna... He's getting stim now. He started concussive shells. I can't tell if he's faking it. Because this could be like a Bio-Curious build here, where you just add in a bunch of... He's really trying to show something to the overlords here, I feel. Yeah, there's Cyclone speed. I have no idea, he might... It's like a rom-com situation where you pretend to be in a relationship for so long that you might as well be married. Okay, that's Terrans with switching into certain unit compositions. It's like, okay, so you got stim, you got 2 engineering bays, you have 5 barracks, and you're telling me this is a battlecruiser build. It's like, just wait 12 minutes. Last game, minute 13, 4 barracks in production. Ghosts are something a little bit different, but... So it was a fake. He was sending all the signals that SHIN really didn't end up picking up on, but there's a chance a Ling could have gone to the front and seen the tech lab upgrading. The Overlord may have committed in and seen another barracks. Oh my god. But the only thing SHIN will see is his queen immolated by the Hellions, which is pretty hardcore. Pretty hot, you might say. Cyclones. 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 Time for some Amnesia Lords. SHIN does actually end up getting supply blocked by the Overlord Dynamarines. Not ideal. 6 Overlords, 7 Overlords, 8! Alright, and then they start finishing, so... Scan. Maru! Maru is playing, like... I feel like Terran's underutilized. You'll get every Diamond League Terran who pulls out their spreadsheet. Like, oh, actually every scan costs 225 minerals that you would have mined with the mule. It's like, well, if you have the minerals and your unit composition's heavy on the gas, and the only thing that can kill you is not knowing they're going mutas, or possibly, it's mostly mutas, which Cyclones aren't so great against. Well then, I think that scan is worth it. And indeed here, Maru taking full advantage. Yeah, the Cyclones on their own. Well, they have speed done. Blue Flame Hellions on the way. The attack of the clones will continue, and the Zerg will suffer for it. A casual liberator. Whatever. And it is mech. Obviously. I'm saying that more for SHIN. As now he knows, and it's time to respond. He chooses a Roach Warren infestation pit. The Ravagers didn't look terrible. I think it was more of a timing and execution thing, and oh no! You can't just leave the door open. They're not sending their best. They're sending the Zerglings. They might send Banelings, but the Zerglings and Banelings are 2 sides with the same deadly coin. Or they could just send a bunch of Zerglings in to get roasted by the Hellions. Maru with the mass mech production. This time around, his upgrades are significantly slower. SHIN has been able to get his evolution chambers up, and his economy is great right now. Despite the superficial damage the Cyclones and some Hellions have been able to deal, this map is much larger. There's a lot of space to work with. And so far, SHIN has taken full advantage of that. I mean, take a look. He has pretty much every base on his side, and he's going to be peaking his mineral and gas income momentarily, right as the hive finishes, which gives him a very good opportunity to springboard into that late game. The main focus against mech is in denying bases. You're probably not going to be able to outright kill them. Let me in! Never mind. Siege tank there to back things up. But if SHIN can deny, in this case, a 5th base, probably in the center of the map, that is, I think, the main objective heading forward. Because siege tanks and entrenched positions, you're not likely to break. A scan, oh my god, these scans are perfect. He has enough orbitals for him, but he sees the hive finish, the timing, and a spire producing. So Maru can put an exact timer on the threat of Vipers, as well as potentially Brood Lords. And it's about a minute and a half for Vipers, and maybe a little less, but they gotta gather their energy. And about 2 minutes for Brood Lords if he rushes straight to him. So what does he do with that info? Do we already have a Ghost Academy? No. Yes. Well, it's producing. There's more barracks on the way, but SHIN is maxed out. A marked disparity here from the previous game, where they were about even on the supply throughout. Instead, SHIN... God, I both love and hate that Maru is scanning. Like, this just feels like... And now SHIN is filling in all the upgrades that he forgot that he should get in the last game. I love this. Both players... So many things. But SHIN is getting Burrow and Neural Parasite immediately. Getting that Greater Spire started. Maru is literally... He's acting like literally a gold player. Like, well, there's your army. Scan runs out. Where'd it go? Probably should have scanned a little earlier here. Yep, that's an army. In comes the tank. Get over here. The Raven. Thor. Well, actually ends up taking a bunch of the Banelings, so that was probably a decent trade, even though he's going to lose it. And the Cyclones are struggling. SHIN breaking through. Pulls them back. Much better on the Abducts. SHIN has shorted up, and the Viper's getting real value. A whole bunch of the frontline defense, and the core of the Cyclones as well. The Viper's just kidnapping about half the army, and the other half has to retreat. SHIN, 615. He's chilling. Well, morphing that many Banelings is certainly going to bump the APM counter up, but... he refills, and the focal point will be on hammering that base in the center of the map. He needs to keep Maru from taking that base safely. He can't let him get set up, because if he does, that's when the ghosts start coming in. That's when it becomes more and more difficult to break this entrenched position, and you might not be able to do so before you run out of money. There's a blinding cloud. He doesn't get too much, but the Banelings are able to roll by into the planetary, taking it out almost incidentally alongside 17 SCVs. Down go the tanks. Thors are dead. Ghosts slaughtered. Cloak not done. They can't run away, and there's no medevacs to evacuate them. Another base might be vulnerable. In fact, Maru has the bottom right corner, which is now essentially isolated. Is it a planetary? Indeed it is, and that's the only thing that'll keep it alive. But Maru is hammered down to 130 supply, and SHIN is building another 18 Banes, and I'm sure that won't be the end of it. He's gonna try to break that base and keep Maru from ever being able to get to the critical mass of mech. Making Banelings on the planetaries, killing another dozen SCVs. It feels like both a combination of the map and the experience he had in the previous game have now come together, and SHIN is kicking the SHIN out of Maru. Knocking out the tank, the planetary itself. The ghosts are too late to participate. Anti-armor missile actually should help a bit, especially when Hellbats are involved. The choke point here, but... well, SHIN still at 200 supply. Playing 300 supply Zerg. And it's likely he'll be able. Maru's working on +3. 6 Infestors on the way. Neural Parasite is done. Burrow is done. He got it right off the bat. Unfortunately, they only last one game. Those upgrades, so you gotta make sure to get them every time. 20 9 SCVs dead, which means Maru's army supply is still Nope. We've all been there. He was trying to burrow the infestors, I think, somewhere on the map, and may have tagged the whole army instead. Ultralisk Cavern. What's... Oh, he does have a Greater Spire. It's odd that he... Well, the Ultra... He has the money. Okay, I'm just concerned he's actually going to try to bail the Ultras. Which, would be certainly a very aggressive way to throw this game in my opinion. But, the Banelings are rolling in. Almost kills the Orbital. Ghost with some risky shots there. Corrosive Biles don't quite finish it off. It's going to be able to land once again, but the Ravager count is so damn high. And by that, I mean it's going to be like 11. I really thought he had like 20 Ravagers. So it's a medium amount of Ravagers, but that's not very exciting. Who orders a medium Diet Coke? All right, probably people who drink Diet Coke, actually. You know what? I take that back. This is where I draw the line. But... whose tanks are they anyway? Well... Oh. It looks so much better when Cyril does it. Huh. The big game-winning move. The Neural Parasite on the tanks. Well, the infestors died and then so did everything else. So Maru, that was supposed to be, he just dunked it off the rim right there is what Shim did. Shin did. Oh my. You gotta, if you're gonna have a 4-letter name, like all good Korean pros, okay? Hero, Cure, Maru, Beyond, Dark. Okay, Dark doesn't follow this rule, but Dark doesn't follow any rules. Gotta have 2 syllables, please. Like Cure also. You know what? I don't like saying Cure either. Okay, I can't enunciate that well. I can't be expected to pronounce words. That's a weird statement with my... Moving on. Where was I? But yeah, he totally just dunked it off the rim right there. He could have gone for the layup and just fought normally, but no, he went for the I'm gonna neural parasite all your tanks. And now here we are with Maru having a 20 army supply lead. Shin may have thrown this game. He's building ultraless speed, which means he may continue down this road. He's got some corruptors on the way, but Maru has a huge... This is an incredibly powerful army. There needs to be spellcasters. It doesn't matter how much income Maru has. This army is on the field. It's right here, right now. And Shin has to deal with it. Maru almost loses a Thor, but the queens... No, we're not supposed to fight them! I don't... The Hellbats are working their way through. Shin can give up a base or two if it means cutting off the reinforcements and eventually whittling this down. But this game is, well, Maru has kept it together. And now, well, down goes the Viper. The Broodlords are popping out. But Maru is retaking bases. He has to come up a ramp. He's caught between a rock and a hard place here. 7 Ultras on the way. That is a bold move. Queen Broodlord Ultra. A Zerg. Anti-armor missile onto the Broods. Not too big a deal in this fight, but certainly doesn't help. The Queen stuck on the ramp. The Vipers will get a parasitic bomb. But the auto turrets from the Raven that Maru was held onto this entire time. Oh my god, 12 Ultras are about to pop out. What is going on? Thors, Ultra, Siege Tanks, Viking. Are we gonna see Vikings land to fight Ultras? The most cinematic. But the tanks on the top of the ramp, these Vipers don't have energy. What are they doing here? More Ultras popping out. The Thors are smashing through. You need the Zerglings. Otherwise, the Thors can target the... Well, they're going to target them anyways. They're just obliterating them. But the ankle biters underneath. Shin is playing 300 supply Zerg, and he needs 450. Well, Thors versus Ultras. And the Ghosts are being chased down. The Ultras onto the base. It looks like Shin had just enough in the bank that the Ultra... What have you done? The Ultra play may have barely been enough to carry him through. He still has 70 drones. What are these burrows? I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish there. That's a misclick or something. But what a brutal exchange yet again. What an epic series between these two. Oh my. Shin. Well, I think he may have had enough. Those siege tanks are doing a lot of damage. Hits one of them. More roaches. Vikings hit the deck. It's happening. The Vikings will fight the Ultras on the ground. And that, well, a lore accurately will mark the very end of the game. What an exchange, though. Shin ends up losing 10,000 more resources, but he mined even more than that. And Maru not able to quite recover. Though it got, in my opinion, a lot closer than it ever should have been. Still, Shin is able to carry it over the finish line. Without much, he ended the game at like 130 supply and nothing in the bank, so by no means a comfortable victory, but a victory nonetheless. And that brings us to the decider. Wow. Oh, he almost threw. That was close. Every Zerg player knows how that feels. You're like, I can do whatever I want. I can neural parasite all his tech. I can make 12 alt. It's fine. Was it? I think Maru caught a little off guard by how well he was doing. It kind of, instead of a coherent push towards the main, he kind of ended up splitting off units in every direction. I think somewhat surprised by the fact he was able to get that damage done, but he didn't give up just because he lost a fight. He was able to turn it around. At the end of the day, the difference maker was the focus on those bases. It was only, I mean, as I mentioned, breaking a Terran who's going mech, nearly impossible. And indeed, the first 4 bases of Maru were still mining at the end of that game. But the outlying bases are much more vulnerable. It becomes a lot harder, especially on a map of that magnitude, to hold on to them, because you can't have your entire army without something else being vulnerable to attack. So at the end of the day, the trajectory, the overarching game plan works out. But I'll give credit to Shin for making it interesting. These mech... It's been a while. Reaper! Terran, calm down. There's always a death, taxes, and scouting Reapers. Okay? Just namaste. Namaste. Sorry. Mech versus Zerg. It's been a while since we've seen such full-on, like, back and forth. As, again, the big issue is kind of how brittle it is. As Shin did demonstrate by the end. The fact that Maru's getting concussed, by the way, tells me this is going to be mech again. He did this last time. He's not making Marauders. It's a fake. Oh my. He sits in the barracks like that, like, I was sitting here. I was totally sitting here. Like he was gonna bamboozle it. I think is a bit late for it. This time around, SHIN will have a pretty good idea. It's not guaranteed to be mech even now. It's just more likely. But there's the factory. Yeah, 3 for 3 games will be mech. So, Maru once again revolutionizing Terran. And this, I think I'm gonna feel comfortable. For the first time in quite a while, when I say new build, well, like every other clickbait title that says new build, it isn't so much an entirely new idea as a twist or an uncommon build we haven't seen very often, because this game is several times older than the, well, average Fortnite play. Okay, not several times older, but as old. So that means essentially every strategy at some point has been tried, has been attempted. Some twist or variation has showed up now and again. Has it become a commonplace build? Not necessarily. But is there a meta? Is there a certain standard set? Essentially some guidelines that most players follow because they're tried and true and seem to find success? And then are there also sometimes players who break out of that mold and redefine what the standard guidelines are? Yes. The answer to all those is yes. It was all phrased like a question, but it was clearly rhetorical. You don't need to answer, but you do need to like and subscribe. At least by the time the action starts, which this time he just keeps scanning. Okay, all you Terran players out there who are like, just scan for info, just build a Raven and keep it with the army every time. And in fact, just go mech. Maru right now, even last game, well, what went wrong for Maru? SHIN built a hive in a timely manner. So yeah, you know what? I've convinced myself back out of it. There are some clear counters. The Hellions, well, they're gonna take a lot of the Zerglings with them. But they will go down. Oh my. Like a lot of those are. Oh my. 26. Okay. Wait. That Hellion has 13 kills. Jeez. Oh. I think the Hellbats have been the real heroes of most of these fights. He's had Hellbats mixed in. Those aren't Hellbats, but every Hellion is a Hellbat in disguise. Another scan at the natural. He just keeps scanning. Like every minute or so, he's just kept tabs. Trying to see what's upgrading. Is there a hive? He just keeps getting the info. There's no stopping it. He actually does think it might be mutas, though. At least the threat is there. And that's probably because there are mutas. Wow, how did I miss that one? You may have seen them popping out on the tail end of that scan. And in fact, the mutas get in a split second before that turret comes online. How many cyclones are there? 6. Which do reasonable damage against the mutas. They're about to have 1-1, the cyclones, so... Carapace, ranged attack. 3 Vipers on the way immediately. We saw the intense value those Vipers were able to gain the previous game. Greater Spiral on the way. Hydras. More. It's gonna be. It feels. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills now because it looks like a standard game, but we haven't seen like a standard macro mech sort of play, especially not multiple games in a series. Hero Marine's been doing some, but rarely does he play the entire series mech like it's a standard build. The default is Marines. He just keeps scanning. There's no hiding from Maru. He will find you, and he will scan you. Which is how he finds you. It was kind of redundant. And then he will kill you. There you go. The Ghost Academy. Delayed slightly, but giving away to SHIN that he knows Late game is afoot. Of course, the scans also could have done that. Here come the Vipers as well. The Vipers at the front before the Ghosts are out. Abducts 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4. 5 tanks in a row. They will do a lot of damage before they're taken out, but not nearly enough to slow this push down. Taking a couple of the clones. More siege tanks sieging up on the low ground. The Cyclone's starting to do a number on everything caught in front. Retreating against, but 17 SCVs die. Did he commit to killing a turret while Maru wasn't looking? I think so. He's going to delay the Ghost Academy. And SHIN guts 18 SCVs. Oh wait, that's not the Ghost Academy. That's a bear. That's a Ghost Academy. All right, if you had gone to the Ghost Academy, you'd know what it looks like. Well, I dropped out of school to cast StarCraft, all right? Don't judge. +2 on the way. For both sides. Maru has slight advantage. Vipers, obviously out. Ghost going to be very important. As Ghost a good counter to gestures wildly at Zerg. And somewhat at Protoss. They're just kind of caught in the crossfire. More Vipers on the way. And abducting the tanks. Blinding Cloud is temporary, but death is permanent. It's a few more, but the Viking count will knock down the Vipers themselves. 10 Corruptors on the way. SHIN gonna play this 300 supply Zerg. Not quite, he doesn't quite have the economy for it. But we're shifting into the Broodlords rather early here. As by this point, we've got kind of an idea of how these things go. More Ghosts on the way. Ooh. SHIN trying to, I think partially trying to trade out the roaches, though he isn't maxed out, so. Maru, staying diligent. I think he's trying to catch, because if there was, most players would start upgrading out of the Spire if they were going to go Broodlords. I think Maru is kind of looking to that to see whether Broodlords are on the way, but SHIN is not upgrading flyer attack or anything. So the Broodlords may come as a surprise. Not so much a surprise that's going to keep Maru from making Thors and Vikings and Hellbats, though. So. Ah, those siege tanks. More roaches and hydras slipping through. Not even an attempt at lurkers. Of course, lurkers are outranged quite comfortably by the tanks, and they're not particularly great against Thors and Ghosts, obviously, either. Maru scanning the edges of his sensor tower, but the Broodlords, here we are. How many? I opened up the units tab and then I didn't look at the number. It's 10. All right. The Queen's underneath. The push one. Is he gonna drop creep? Yes, I think. The Overlords are also just there. He's dropping creep so the Queens can transfuse. The mobile support team, the Broodlords, are crashing through. But the Queens are getting obliterated by the tanks. The Vikings are starting to chew through. The Thors pounding the Broodlords into fleshy bits that fall out of the sky. And the Corruptors might be able to take out the Vikings. SHIN refills 50 Zerglings, 3 Vipers. The Corruptors, well, it feels like that went well enough for Maru. Especially if he finishes off that very last Broodlord. Well, this is awkward. He may actually get this. Oh, the snipes. It's gonna cost a lot of Corruptors, though. He's pretty committed. I think he's got it. Yeah. But it costs him like 6 Corruptors, which... It's not like Maru's hurting for command centers, either. He floats another one immediately out of his main. Delayed several seconds of mining. 6 Queens in production. Another crazy game. So cool to see actually like new exchanges here. At least ones we haven't seen in quite a bit. And blinding clouds all over everything. As the Zerglings, Roaches, and Hydras close in, the one heroic Broodlord helping out as well. Gets taken out, but the Roaches and Lings on top of the siege line. There aren't enough Hellbats to thin the herd. And the Roaches and Hydras are able to take out the Thors, opening up an opportunity to potentially overrun Maru. Even more Roaches are in production. SHIN is hurting for larva. I think he sent all his queens. He can't spend his money because he's out of larva, but he still has enough army supply to keep the aggression going. Did Maru build a planetary? No, an orbital over here. But the Hydras, while trying to target things, Ghosts are coming out. 16 SCVs down. Another round of Roaches headed in. The siege tank's doing quite well against them. The Ghosts try to find a fight. Changeling's taken out. More Roaches trickling through. The Ghosts, there's enough Metamax, leaves one behind, but missile attacks and plating level 3. But Maru is battered down to 120 supply. And now SHIN remembers and festers. He's got 6 on the way. Neural Parasite in production. That Corruptor, that Caustic Spray. Impressive length there. Not to make it weird, but... And Burrow is in production as well. Maru right now on burrowed time. As desperate to pull things together. Very similar to the last game. SHIN focusing on those outlying bases. And Maru's down to 144 supply. 48, well, it's only going to go up until SHIN does something. But Roach Ravager coming through. Fully upgraded siege tanks, though. Hellbats in front, benefiting from the medevacs. Without the Vipers, without the Infestors, it's almost impossible to break that army. Unless you're willing to throw everything at it. And even then, it's not a guarantee. Another base attempted, but between the creep drop and the, well, more relevantly, the Zerglings, and will be driven away. The scan spots the bit of a Scooby-Doo timing. Like, oh, well, I would have neural parasited your tanks if it weren't for those meddling orbital commands. He's just going for it anyways. You don't need to unburrow to do that, but I guess if it gives you the confidence you need. Neural Parasite's more. A much better looking fight than the last. Well, well, the Roaches are breaking through. He gets through the tanks, and that's really all that matters. Wasn't pretty. Well, there's more tanks. Maru, his supply has plummeted. God, those tanks hit so hard. But the Ghosts are quite good. I like the purity of the upgrades here. 3-3 for Mech, and 3-3 for your generic missile attacks and Carapace for SHIN. Multiple scan. How many orbitals does Maru have? 4 orbitals at the moment. So not so much he can just scan constantly. Corrosive Biles, he's gonna take out the base. The tanks are sieging. Not enough Ghosts to really work his way through the tank spread. Well, they're not gonna take too much from Corrosive Bile, but eventually SHIN works his way through the army. There's a few tanks left at the back. SHIN doesn't have so much money. He's building 30 more Roaches. But Maru is down to 114 supply. The Ghost count grows. Siege tanks, Ghosts. He's getting +1 infantry armor. But SHIN has now... Oh my god. He's in a different tax bracket. 2,500 income advantage. And Maru's like, well, how about my stimulus package, bro? Drops 5 mules. Tries to shore that up. But it's 111 to 67 supply. The siege tanks are in quite a nice position tucked in here, and any Roaches that get close will easily get sniped off, but SHIN is trying to break this with just Roaches and Zerglings, which did not work. A Baneling nest on the way, which is not the usual late game choice. Concerningly, oh, there is a Viper and Viper. Concerningly, though, no infestors, only the one Viper. Maru refuses to die. Well, the army, I think he's going to be able, he just evacuates the SCV, he's giving up the base. Knocks it out. The ghosts. Well, is it a mech army anymore? There's ghosts in the shell. The army is 15 ghosts, 12 hellbats, 9 siege tanks, and 3 medevacs from Maru. Up against 22 roaches, 21, well, now Zerglings becoming banelings. There are 91 drones, so the army supplies are actually even here. Because SHIN has so many drones. He's been playing this full max out style. Blinding Cloud on the tanks, yanks in another one. Knocks out another tank, but Maru snipes are coming through. And he's been allowed to mine from that northern base and is now pretty comfortably... 62 more Zerglings on the way. He doesn't have melee attack upgrades, he's just now working on it. SHIN feels like he's regressing in the tech tree. Is Maru... Is it working? I really thought we'd have another... Well, that's a lot of ghosts. He lines up a firing squad. Baneling speed is not done, which means the Banelings are optimistic. The Hellbats are still working through the economy. There's not that many drones left at bases that Maru isn't about to kill, rather. 16 drones down. SHIN does not have enough money in the bank. He's still building roaches and Zerglings. Right now, Maru's army is a Bugatti. And SHIN is decking out his Prius. The Ghost, though, doesn't land a fungal. I think the Infestor's got EMP'd. Well, loses a base. Here come the Vipers. EMP, one Blinding Cloud is all he's able to get. Ghosts on the back line. Snipes towards everything. The siege tanks are still doing a lot of damage while the Ghosts snipe away. Planetary combining. The Ghosts are not dead. Siege tanks, though, rallied through the roaches. SHIN cannot replenish. He's hovering at 160 to 180 supplies. Zerglings find a way into the north side. Roaches trying to cut off more reinforcements. Hellbats come down. What a brawl. It feels like we've gone all of the rounds and now we're in overtime here. As SHIN just dragging what he can onto the field. Maru trying to hold on to whatever bases he has left. The Ghosts need to be killed, though. That is not optional. The drones, certainly not the ones to do it. 14 drones down. Infestors pre-scanned. He's gonna try to get some neurals here. The Ghost, you can EMP the ground, technically. Blinding Cloud retreats back. Actually manages to pick up some of the tanks. The scan, and he hits the Infestors! Oh no! And the Ghosts light up a volley. SHIN. Oof. Well, there's a counterattack. There's only so many minerals left. The Zergling's coming in, but that doesn't seem like enough army supply out of SHIN. He's cutting off the reinforcements. Roaches and Banes. Well, enough reinforcements come together. Vipers are looking for an opportunity yet again. SHIN's into the third. Zergling's closing the distance on the Ghosts. Tank dragged into the fray. Ghosts retreat back. Taking out some of the Vipers, but he's forced to pick up in the medevacs. SHIN is able to break another siege line. Are you kidding me? 58 siege tanks have died. Wow. The Ghost still looking for opportunities. Maru trying to land in the top right corner. It's not happening. SHIN on top of the SCVs. Maru down to 39, but his army supply is still good. He's building Zerglings. Waiting for a parking spot, that command center. I don't know if Zerglings are the ticket, but he's almost out of gas. He's mining some, but he wasn't able to drag out enough. How many spellcasters? There's one Viper. Maru is brawling it out. He's not able to keep much going himself. 61 siege tanks dead, but there's 6 more on the field. We could get to 69 by the end at this rate. The Zerglings just evaporate. Spontaneously combusted by the Hell Tank army here. The Zerglings coming in for another... How many Zerglings? 500 have died. He didn't even build Zerglings until like 17, 18 minutes in, when the Roach Hydra started dropping off. But now Maru has an army supply lead with a better army. The Zerglings are roasted by the Hellbats. The Ghosts... The Ghosts? The real MVPs. And he's done it. SHIN just runs out of options. He runs out of supply. He runs out of resources. And Maru survives the onslaught. Survives the swarm. Loses dozens of siege tanks. Slaughters hundreds of Zerg. And at the end of the day... 2-1. One of the hardest fought 2-1s of Maru's career, I think. But 2-1 is the final tally. Wow. Well, he made it happen. He mech'd it happen. And I hopefully made your day just a little bit better. Thank you for watching. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon. But I hear liking and subscribing. Still free for now. If you haven't yet checked out the second channel for streams and more content, and maybe even some games that you don't care about now, but you might in the future, storm the gates of that channel as well. Check out recommended. That's very helpful. Either way, I hope I made your day a little bit better. Thank you for watching. Good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.